What up? What up? What up, everybody? It is the Live Reality Games Podcast, and tonight I'm back. But I didn't come alone because in order to fully recap Survivor Angelica, you got to have the key players of the game. And episode 3 was titled Trains, Buses, and Steven. Unfortunately, Steven's not going to be on the show, even though there was a lot to be said and a lot to talk about with Steven. We're going to have, first and foremost, from my Thane tribe, Paige. Paige, what up? What up?
Hey!
And from the Lorne tribe, we have the, I guess, not really the opposing tribe, because, I mean, at some point, like in Survivor, you got to work together and you switch it up and things change. So, but for all intents and purposes for tonight, she's on the opposing tribe. Ayla, what's up? What's
Hi,
up?
guys.
Hey! The two Canadians.
The
Yes.
two Canadians, man, it's a blast. It's a blast from the past. I mean, we're ready to rock and roll. We got folks live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on X, ready to hit us up with things. Santi's already in the chat with his popcorn, waiting and ready to go. And I don't know about y'all, but nothing else needs to be said other than let's get into this. Obviously, we start the episode and it takes us to Steven. Steven is his name is in the title, so obviously there's going to be a lot to be going through Steven, and he is somehow mad at Chad because Chad didn't get the last idol, and I think a lot of it has something to do with the fact that I think Steven just wanted to do something memorable or have something memorable going on. And, he wasn't quite there yet. And I think it was early, and I think he was maybe a little bit impatient, but he's very confident. And Ayla, you being on the Lorne tribe with him, what was going on with him? Why was he so confident, so early on in the game?
Well, he had good reason to be because while a couple of us saw through it, he was successfully playing most people. And while I say we saw through it, I still really wanted to work with him. Like the fact that I could tell how manipulative he was being, but I still felt like, no, but I'm going to be the one that he wants to work with. I'm going to change his mind and, try like that wife that wants her husband to settle down and stop chasing the ladies. I was like, he's going to be my ally and Hannah's ally. But as you can see in the episode and you could see it in the game, Scott put it best. He said that when we were on the show, he said Steven is like the younger version of Chad. They're both trying to make allies with everyone, but Steven's louder about it. That being said, everyone wanted to work with him. So he had a very good reason to be confident.
Well, y'all didn't know this, but I decided we really needed to gang bust the Lorne tribe. So I was curious about some things. So I asked Tara to come on. And so she is with us tonight.
Hi.
Hello!
Hello. How are you girls doing?
Hi, I'm
Great,
so
how are you?
you.
Good.
We are ready to break it down. We just got into it. We got into Steven. Steven is the top of conversation right now, and he's very confident. And Ayla is to the point where, like he should be confident because everyone wants to work with him. He seems like he's like trying to be the master manipulator and master, string puller for the Lorne tribe.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't even on his tribe and I wanted to work with him. Like,
He's very charismatic. Like, the really that emoji of like the really happy person, like I don't know, that's him and people gravitate towards him. It's very charismatic.
Absolutely. And he's also done a ton of these games, so he knows how to divide and conquer, and he knows how to talk to people. He's a great person to have on side, especially in this early part of the game. And I think you see that when he's talking to camera, when he's talking about how like he wants to be the one who holds the advantages. He wants to be the one who information is going through. So it was really cool to see him talking at the top of this episode.
Yeah, I think
also already had Joelle as well because they knew each other from before. And so the fact that he already knew he had him and then he was working his magic on everyone else too.
So playing a lot of these games definitely is favorable, especially like from a confidence standpoint, because you kind of know where you need to be and how to like maneuver to get yourself in a good position. And it seemed like Steven did the things to put himself in a good position. Um, but what I want to go to is Sam. Sam became the vote towards the end of episode 2 when there was that double tribal. They left us hanging, and then again we enter episode 3 waiting to see what happens. And I got Sam coming on a little bit later, so we're not going to dig too much into it. But
Mhm.
Ayla, I do want to ask how did Sam become the vote? Like, because when you talk to when you hear them at tribal in their confessional as they're writing names down, they are saying, I really wanted to work with you, but for some reason nobody ever did. So how did Sam become the vote?
Yeah. So to begin with, she is somebody that is honest, and I think that's great. Travis didn't like it, and you could. Chad said it. He said she's from New Jersey. They tell it like it is. So when initially there were groups forming that Sam was not part of, but then Sam was part of groups that other people were not part of. So she was getting along with people, but then when they were asking about sharing coins, she said to Travis that she wasn't going to do that, and he didn't like the way she said it or something like that, and started campaigning for her. And nobody had anybody else that they thought they wanted out, and nobody wanted to be the first vote. But then we realized that it was Travis that was kind of scheming. Like, he wasn't just throwing out Sam, he was throwing out Natasha, me, actually all of the girls except for Hannah, who he bonded with. Um, and he even threw out Joelle's name as well.
Well,
So we were like,
Travis
okay.
was a shit stir. I mean, he was just throwing folks' names out there in hopes that his name wasn't going. But speaking of Sam, guess who's here? We got Sam. And what's funny is I have to edit this layout in order for us to have a fifth option here. So because
Sorry.
I wasn't expecting this many people, but I don't want anybody to have to wait.
It's a
So
full house.
Can you hear me?
we can hear you. We can't see you
Okay,
though.
wait. That's because I'm driving, Mama. Yeah. I'm on the
Oh,
turnpike.
is this a safe time for you?
Yeah,
Robbed Queen Sam?
I'm not holding the phone up. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. Well, we're talking about you. I don't know if you can hear, but
Yeah, I
we
heard.
we we wanted to know
So
from other people how your name became the vote, but now I want to know
because
from you,
Travis
how
was
did your name?
scrambling, bro. Travis had no way out, and then it was a double tribal. Like I was just cooked. Like there was no way. And I had some agency. Like I just think that like because I knew Joel from playing the mole with him, and I had a connection to Chad through someone else who had played, ironically, the mole with him. Um, but like a different mole game, a
But
destination mole, and
but Sam,
I like knew Chad was like this big poker guy, but I didn't like
so let me ask
what.
you
Can
this.
you hear me?
What yeah, why did everybody when they were
Okay.
in, when they were doing their votes, why did everyone say I wanted to work with you, but nobody ever did? Like, was it
I'm telling.
prior to it?
I was trying to. I was trying to get there, but so like basically like I knew Joel and Chad, like it just nobody was willing to try and like turn the vote because no everyone was afraid it was going to go on them. And I think Chad said something to that effect even in his confessional, or the voting confessional. And I understand it. Like I've been there before. Like I think I'm a little more bold than the other people on my tribe, and I would have tried to shake things up, but that's easy to say when I was the name, you know what I'm saying? But like I don't know, I like to shake things up. I think it's fun. I could tell we were going to like I could just tell it was not going well for our tribe to begin with. But like I didn't feel really on the outs. I think Travis felt like I was on the outs, but I didn't really feel like that, at least with the boys. I felt on the outs with the girls completely. It did not feel included. And that's cool. Like I don't it's fine. But like that's my life. Like my friends are all men and gay men, and you know, like that's just a bit of me. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not used to such an early placement, low key, but I don't know. It was not that big of a deal. I feel like I started off in a funk. I got a ticket on the way to the game. And I was like, you are joking. And like I've got points on my license from playing Survivor Angelica. Like I literally, you know, like that's my biggest regret. It's not going out early. It's that I got a fucking ticket because I had to pee and I
Well,
couldn't find any service stations because New York is crazy and just has these text stops that I didn't know had bathrooms. So I'm like about to piss my pants. I get pulled over by this officer. I was like, you're joking. So that's how it started for me.
okay. Well, if being so hostile, like to start the game and going through the game, like why didn't you out Chad? Why didn't you tell everybody about
I
his?
wasn't hostile. I was just like a little skittish from a, you
You're
know,
fired
like
up right now. I can tell.
I'm
You
just
are.
this is just me, baby. This is just me. I'm from
Let's
New
go.
Jersey.
I
This is
love it.
not fired up, at least from this was heard right when we met her. She's had a lot of energy, and she was the one that would get our tribe, fired up for our challenge.
Well,
So
if this is tame version of Tam, I'd hate to do like a live tribal with her. Like it might get testy. Like they might burn
I
the
don't,
camp down.
I don't really like. I don't really like. You know,
Santi said
I'm not really
Sam
that feral.
Sam is
I just
always
have like
at 11.
yeah. Ironically, yeah. My last name being Six, but you know, I mean, honestly, I didn't want to out Chad. The only reason I voted for him was because like I had gotten into it with Ayla off camera right before going to vote. I was just gonna pick her because she was the person I was pitching. But she like, and this girl, I will say, was so bold of you. Y'all want to call me bold? She was like, "You're really gonna vote for me?" I was like, "Girl, you are all voting for me. Like, are you joking? Like, are you being funny? Like, you're all
Uh,
voting for me." And she was so mad. I was gonna put her name down on one parchment. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a girl's girl. I'm not gonna be a bitch, and I'm not gonna do it. So I went for Chad because I was like, oh, I wanted to give him a little dig because I wasn't gonna out him for being like a poker champ because honestly, like, you know, he did what he had to do. I get it. You know, he was like, everyone was kind of backed against the corner. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
I
it's
not
mean,
sort of
I can speak more on my side of things, but it is her, boot episode, so I don't need to speak to my side of things either. We can leave it at that as well. It's up to you guys and Sam.
oh,
I mean,
I really don't care. I'm just saying, like, if you want to talk about that interaction, Ayla, we could totally talk about that because I thought that was bold for you to like be offended. I was gonna write your name down when everyone was writing my name down, girl. Like, read the room. Yikes!
I mean,
Like, oh my
I do
god.
I do think at some point like you have to placate to the majority, but you also have to be sympathetic to the person that you're voting as well. And
Well,
like
I was asking her
what
to
would
spell
you
her name because she was so upset about people spelling her name wrong, and she got so mad. Like I was like, "What?" Like I don't. I was like, "Girl, read the room." I am like about
So
to go out
I
here.
I didn't come on this podcast to fight with anyone. I'll
Oh,
give
I am
my
not trying to
side of
fight.
it. I'll give my side of it, but then it's okay. And so some of the other people in the tribe can speak to this as well, is that another name Travis was tossing around. So my
Mhm.
name had been thrown out there. So when, Sam's on the chopping block, of course she's going to throw out a name that's been mentioned before. And I was not upset about people spelling my name wrong. It's an ongoing joke. Like I've never had a supply teacher, anyone ever say my name right the first time, ever spell it the first time. So maybe it came off as like that, but no, I don't care about people spelling my name wrong. But anyway, so Sam was pitching me, but then she would come to me and say, well, she would come up to me and say, we will do your name if you don't work with me, or I'm going to vote you if you don't
That
work with
didn't
me, vote
happen,
someone else.
girl. That didn't happen. Don't lie. I didn't. I didn't say that. You weren't saying a name to me, so I knew that I was the name. Because you wouldn't say a name to me. It was so easy to read you. But I did not come up to you and say, I'm going to vote for you. I said it's going to be one of us or we could work together. We had a conversation like that in the bathroom, but it was not
So
me saying,
Hannah
I'm going to
was
vote for you.
there, and Hannah can back me up on that, but we don't have to Like, you can just leave it at that. That's
We don't
fine.
have to get into semantics here. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you're playing a game where deception is a part of it, and like
Yeah, but
whether
I wasn't being deceptive there.
no, I'm
But
just
I
saying
could
that's
tell that I was the name going because I would walk up to people, they'd be like, "Did you hear anything?" And I was like, "Girl, like this is not," and not girl Ayla, girl anybody, like girl anyone I'm talking to. Like girl, you think that I'm dumb? I literally looked at the camera and said, "Does it say stupid dumb bitch on my forehead or something? Like, do these people think I don't know what I'm doing?" Like I literally said that to the camera, and it's in the episode. Like I
No,
was
nobody thought you
privy
were
to it.
dumb. Like,
No,
I
no,
knew
no.
that you knew
It was
you
like
were
a
the
rhetorical
vote.
question. Like it was very obvious that I was the vote. I knew I was. And we didn't have flashlights for my round, so I couldn't look for a fucking idol. We got flashlights after that.
I
It's
mean,
yeah.
it I'll say this. If you're looking for idols, you probably weren't going to find one if you were on a tribe with Natasha, because she probably found them
Oh
all.
my gosh.
But
I'm not gonna speak to how I performed in other games, but there's never been a game where I haven't found something.
well,
So I'm sure I would have if I had a flashlight.
with
Who
that,
knows?
I don't I
That
don't I
is
don't want to
up in there.
I don't want to harp too much on the tribal itself. I mean, Sam, you're a great player. You've been in the community for a while. Obviously, having you a part of the game is good because it's nice to have what I would consider
And it
veteran
was great to make
LRG
some
players.
connections. I'm grateful to have met everyone I met and to have a chance to play. You know what I'm saying? That was cool. So
Yeah. But we gotta shift gears. We gotta talk about the Thane tribe. All right. So in the episode, we move over to the Thane tribe and what we had going on, which we just eliminated Brian, and now we're talking about why he was the vote. And I think Paige, Tara, everybody can agree that Brian was the name just because it was the easy vote at the time. Everybody was on the same page with that vote, and he was throwing people's names out there. So it wasn't difficult in a sense for that first vote to be Brian. But what I'll ask you guys is, it was either him or Mike, right? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah.
It was either him or Mike. I'm pretty sure we had decided that going in,
Mhm.
but Mike at that point had said, once Brian was eliminated, he was like, oh, well, I'm voting for Brian voted for me because he wants me out. And I think Mike was just trying to save face a little bit and try to get everybody to believe like, hey, like, just keep me around because, he's just trying to throw a name out there, which, I don't know. It could have been any number of names, but I still think we would have landed on Mike. Do you agree, Paige? I think that was where we were at for sure.
Yeah, it seemed early days from my perspective. There was like a couple of relationships that started to form that ended up being kind of key factors in what those first few votes were going to look like. And also, I think really early game, if there's word talk that you're like throwing a bunch of names out, really easy for that person to be someone who's a first vote. And I think that really, whether it was a true perception or not, that got on Brian. So Brian was going to be first out. Because once the person finds out that someone's tossing their name around, pretty easy when there's a kind of a couple core groups to make that happen. And then I think what you had with Mike was kind of an interesting web of things that happened. Because if you see on the episode and you see at the spoiler at the end when he goes, like the loveliest guy, like super nice, had some like lovely chats about theater with him. But there seems to be this kind of perception that no one knew 100% whether he was telling the truth about like his life and how he was coming into the game. Like there was a rumor started really early that maybe he had played before and wasn't owning up to it. Sorry, Mike, that was me. Was wrong. That's okay. And then and that was wrong. I started it. Oops. But then as challenges started happening, we started
It worked.
It
worked.
It wasn't me. So there we go. And then we started seeing these relationships between Mike and Travis whenever we would come to a challenge. And I don't think this ever got caught on camera, but like as we would walk in, Travis would sometimes like give a look to Mike and give him a nod or like say something that if you knew someone outside the games felt like an inside comment. So this perception started around Mike, and some people who maybe didn't feel as comfortable in the tribe kept stoking those fires of like, yeah, looks like him and Travis are really close. Maybe they know each, and then it ended up being true that they did know each other.
They left together.
Yeah.
When
Like immediately.
when Paige was like, I think I saw this guy get out of the truck and walk to the game site. I think, wasn't that you, Paige, that said that you saw?
I didn't say that one. I think I want to say Katie said that. But I grabbed that and I was like, oh yeah, Mike is such a sneaky guy, the nicest guy, the most like honest dude in the tribe, I think. But he just started with this kind of game, perception is reality. Santi is clear.
Can you fill out regular cash, please? I need a receipt.
Oh.
I love what's happening in the bottom corner.
I just muted Sam so she can get everything she needs to get done. But what I loved,
that became the reality.
Yeah, what I loved about that whole Mike and Travis connection is I was just like, yeah, I could see that. No matter what anybody said about it, I was like, oh yeah, definitely. That I believe that for sure. And then when Katie throws out the fact that they basically rode together, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. Like we can't have that. And I don't even know what it didn't really make a difference in my eyes. But it was just something to latch onto. And poor Mike, like such a nice guy, such a good dude, but
so nice, loved Survivor, really wanted to be there, really wanted to play. But in these early stages, as I mentioned, like as relationships and alliances started to form, he wasn't like quite as ingrained in some of them. And then with this perception of like, oh, maybe he's lying about everything he's doing, whether it was true or not, that perception becomes reality. That reality becomes the vote.
Yeah, Santi confirms it was Katie. He said they gave him a ride and saw him walking, just walking up the trail all by himself. I do want to get into the immunity challenge because like as much as I would love to just gloss right past this challenge, I'm not. And
we got walked.
I mean, we got dog walked. Are you
talking about the flag football?
Yeah. And
I saw that and I was like, that is not what happened.
Wait, I don't remember. Did we have were people sitting out on both tribes? Because I know I was competing in it, but I don't remember how many people from our tribe competed. Like Steven and Joel and Scott did from me and Chad. But were more people in it? I don't remember.
Yeah, so the way that it worked is you had what I think was supposed to be 3 rounds. And each round you had 3 people. And at the end of every round, you could substitute. I need a receipt.
It's for my job, okay?
You could substitute for 3 different players if you wanted to. What I'm glad nobody saw is I played every round and did absolutely dog shit in the whole thing. And I'm glad people are like, what is this jabroni out there doing? He did nothing. Like, what the hell?
Dan, I remember you just whizzing around, but it didn't feel like you had a direction to where you were running. It was just random circles.
Nobody had a direction. It was like, an army of ants just trying to find the crumb.
It was
complete chaos. That
is true, Scott. I did run towards you only because I thought I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe if I got close to the opposing player, that's something would happen magically. And then you're right, Ayla. I just thought, well, maybe I'll try to make a mad dash to get this crown. And then I realized I think I grabbed the wrong crown. I think I grabbed our crown and I went the wrong way. And it was just
so bad.
It was because all you could see, but I don't think the cameras actually show what it was really like for us. You couldn't see jack squat.
No.
Out there.
I can't see when the sun is out. You put me in a challenge in the dark. I was like, all right.
And you especially couldn't see Tiana because she's so fast, small, and it's dark. So I would be like, oh, there's Dan running around, and then all of a sudden T was right there. And then
T is a killer. He's a
Absolutely.
killer.
I
He's
was
so fast.
I was in all black and I was like, nobody's gonna see me. Watch this.
All
And it
you
was
saw was flashes of light go by you from those lighted things. But then
so
it's so chaotic, you don't remember what color your team is.
at,
So
once
it's like,
once we got out there and somebody was like, I can't remember who asked me, but somebody was like, what do you think the strategy is? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know what to do.
Oh,
And
Lauren
it showed.
dominated this
Yeah.
strategically, energetically, like all levels. They just murdered this. They had the right
They-
strategy.
All the
they had the right
strategy was
people out.
Chad.
Go
Well,
on.
Chad, whatever strategy that he concocted, it was the right strategy, clearly. And it was the opposite of what we were doing. Because we had no strategy. And
I
that's
remember-
partly on me because I was asked what to do and I was like, I don't know. And clearly everyone else went out there with the strategy of I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I remember the
Um,
first round being on the side with I think it was Jessica. I'm not positive. It was so dark. Who's to say? And I'm pretty sure it was Jessica though. But the two of us were standing there watching the first round. We were like, so doesn't look good for us. Like just essentially kind of like, all right, so like when we go to tribal, what's it gonna look like? I think my head was kind of there watching it go down. It was brutal. It was
well,
so bad.
we don't have to talk anymore. I did my due diligence. I brought it up. I talked about how bad we were.
What? I want to talk about it. Lauren was so good. No, I'm kidding. It's fine.
I mean, you were. I mean,
Oh,
I will say though that I think we had an advantage simply because we were a much taller tribe, and I think the fact that like maybe it was intimidating to see, you know, Steven, Scott, Joelle all running at you, and maybe you guys were running the other way,
I
and then that
mean,
we could get.
I'm gonna
I
be
don't know.
honest, Ayla. I could have been 7 foot tall out there, and it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have.
I did nothing either. I did nothing.
But
I
it's
like tried to help, but I didn't do anything really.
yeah.
I ran after Steven. I remember that because I think it does show it on camera. All of a sudden, I just saw a flash of light, and I'm like, I'm just going to go towards the light. And I
The-
just like ran like heck. And I think that's where we were all like,
yeah, it was
he
brutal.
went kind of.
that was the
around.
highlight. That was the highlight of Thane's flag football challenge, or capture the crown challenge, was what we thought was out of bounds, and Tiana getting fired up like, oh, she was hot. She was not happy.
And Mike was also not happy.
Yeah. No.
A lot of us
that
were not
and
happy.
Santi said, his highlight was Chad bulldozing him. So I
Chad
mean,
was
it was ruthless out there for a little bit, but
Yeah.
obviously, Lauren picks up the victory. They get the 5 showings apiece. We get our 2, which, I mean, at that point it was okay, but I don't like to lose, and I really don't like to lose the way that we lost. I think that's still still have a tough time wearing that. So I'm trying to move past that. Ayla, what's up?
I just feel like Santi would not be happy if this wasn't mentioned because he laughed a lot about it. I never heard this, but apparently after we got a point or something, Chad yelled at Santi like, "You're in our house now," and like
Yeah.
it was just like a fired up moment. And Chad is a lovely, lovely person. This is no disrespect to Chad, but I just thought it was a very funny, spirited. Our tribes were pretty. There was some rivalry going on. It started with the Travis trash talk, and then I don't know, it just kept going from there.
Yeah.
You're in our house now. It was very good. As someone who also heard that, very good.
I was like, in that case, let me get up out of here, because like I didn't want anything to do with that house. Clearly.
I didn't knock on the door. I didn't come to the patio to come in. I'm not here for dinner. I'm happy to leave.
I want to get to some things before Paige. You got to get out of here.
Yeah, I got to roll pretty quick.
So, Katie and Steven go to market, and obviously they get what they get. But am I the only one that felt like they were like long lost pals in there? They were like, "Oh, it's so
Absolutely.
nice to reconnect with you." Like,
You have two
Katie,
people who are
Katie.
two people who are super charismatic, have played a lot of these games, know that this is a great opportunity to chat together, and you just see that instantly hit it off.
And they both
See,
like to collect allies, like I don't know, like you see money on the street. It's like, oh, ally, 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 ally. Like I'm with you all at the same
Yeah.
time.
hey, do what you got to do to make it to the next vote. I mean,
Mhm.
I get it. Obviously, you know, we go to tribal. Mike is the name thrown out.
We
There
got
were
it.
other names that were, I think, floated, but I never think anything was seriously. I think my name was floated out there. Other names were floated out there, but I don't think anybody was seriously like in jeopardy other than Mike. And I think because Paige created that story. So thanks for that, Paige.
Well, yeah. I have a couple questions about this round because I have my limited perception of that. And I'm just curious if what everyone else's is on this. Because Tara ends up playing the idol, which is for all of us. I don't think a lot of us were expecting that because within this round,
Did you know she had an idol?
yes, I watched her find it.
Okay.
So I knew that Tara had the super idol and had found the one at our camp. So this was around where you had Mike's name as like the name that was going to happen. Daniel, you seemed totally chill to be like, yeah, say that my name's the cover up. Totally good. And then because just my timelines are a little bit confused over the game, Tara, what brought you to playing that? Were you worried about your name coming
That is a fantastic question.
happen there? Because I think I have a clue on this, but
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Can I say something first before you
Sure.
answer this? Tara is, at this point, is my number one. And she asked me, she goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Don't think about playing it. Do not play this. Like, we are good." And she goes, "Okay, thank you." And then so Tara, why the second thought? Why the second guess?
Okay, so because after that challenge, we all walked back to camp. And if my memory serves me correctly, all of a sudden everybody broke off and we were having our conversations. And I had known that the Mike name, that Mike was going to be the one. And then Mike came to me and said, Tiana, Santi, and Paige are all throwing your name. And I'm like, throwing my name? I go, why are they throwing my name? So then I went to Santi because Deanna and Santi and Paige, you know, we had our little thing going on. So then I think you were talking to somebody else, Paige, but I went to Dan and asked Dan. Dan's like, no, it's not you. So then I went to Santi and asked Santi, and Santi's like, no, it's not you. But then I started really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I just saw Mike spending all this time with Dan. And I just saw Mike spending all this time with Santi. Am I the fall name? Like, is that so? I literally got so deep in my head that, like, if Santi's watching this, he'll know. I was sitting next to him in tribal going, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And he's like, don't do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And he's like, why? It's not you. And I'm like, I just have a feeling. Like, I was just like so deep into my head about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then
this is
coming
what
back.
So
But didn't you have an idol you could play after the votes were read?
Yeah, I
did.
had that too.
So why were you even worried?
Because
I'm confused.
I know.
You were so OP.
I
You were so OP.
But see, that
You were
super idol,
touchable.
I know.
right? But the thing is that super idol, I was honest with it, and I was like, you know what? If anybody in our core, so I was holding on to it to protect everybody else.
Yeah, but girl, you would have played that shit. Your name came up. Don't even play. Don't
Tara,
even play.
You
have to.
I
You
respect
have
the
to.
move.
Santi,
I respect the move, Tara.
yeah, Santi did
Absolutely.
say we did consider flushing the super idol
Exactly.
early on,
Nah.
Yeah.
but I don't want to give too much away. But Paige, what you got?
Okay, so how this started. Tiana and I are in the bathroom. We're washing our hands.
This girl's bathroom
Good job
thing.
washing your hands.
We're
Paige.
washing our hands, talking about, oh yeah, Mike's going, Mike's gone, absolutely. And also for clarification, like at this point, Tiana and I had not talked a ton of game. Like, but I was like, I don't feel great about this super idol. And it was nothing about who was holding it. It was just about it being on the table. And I was like, okay, there's 8 people. We all know Mike's going. And I remember I kind of like turned off the tap and I kind of turned to Tiana. I'm like, now what if we could make this happen? What would that look like? Where could we find this 4th vote? Because with the super idol on the table, like you kind of have to sign off that one round is not really going to go your way. If you want to flush it, you have to be like, we're just going to put the votes on and we're going to have to deal with the fallback after. And my perception at the time was it's early in the game. Tara and I had a really good one-on-one relationship, but I didn't know where I fit in the group. So I was like, well, if we get that off the table, maybe we can re-navigate. So Tia and I have this conversation in the bathroom. Now, how I remember that conversation ending was, I think it's too soon. Let's go. And then the amazing thing about Tiana being in the game with you is if she's excited about something, she's gone. She's off to the races.
You don't have to be vocal about anything. If you want something said, you just go, hey, Tiana.
Hey, Tiana, how about this? So Tiana disappears into the night.
I think T is trustworthy in games. I've played other games with them, just saying.
Yeah, and I didn't know this. Like, Tiana
I don't think that they just tell everyone everything. Maybe that was at Angelica, but not always for other people out there. If you see T in a game, all right? I'm just
super trustworthy. But representing. Like, I did not, like, we didn't have much relationship at this point. So suddenly people start coming back to me being like, I hear Tara's name is around. That's like, what's happening? And I was like, I have no idea. I've only heard Mike's name. And what I'm getting from that and what I learned from that is Dan is dead loyal and Dan's not going to move. That if you want info spread, Tiana's a great way to go through it. And that she's open to plans like that. But I remember like we're huddling up, getting ready for the vote. And I remember Katie and Tiana having this conversation. And like, it was like really quick and really hushed. And Katie, I think, came to me and the two of us were like, and Katie was like, that's not happening. I was like, I guess it's not happening. And I remember grabbing T being like, we don't have the votes. We don't have it. It's on Mike. It's on Mike. Like
Santi said the same thing. Said T came with the idea and he nipped that. Yeah. Like,
because we would have had 3, me, Tiana, and Mike. Yeah. So it was just a matter of could we find a 4th? And there was no 4th to be found. And once again, Tara, my beloved, it was not about wanting to put votes on you specifically. It was to get this really huge thing off the table because I wasn't comfortable with it in the game.
Raw.
Not love it there. I don't want it to go on. And
here's now looking at it, and I'm hoping it will come out later in the game, and I won't give away too much. The night that I threw that idol, we had eavesdroppers.
Yes, which was a whole other like.
Oh yeah,
and that confused the heck, right?
Scott said the tea is hot. Talk about the eavesdropping. So let's get to that.
Scott.
Obviously, so Ayla, how is it that you and Scott got to sit in on the tribal? How did that go down, and how was it you two that got a chance to do that and no one else?
Okay, there's so many things I want to say at once. First, I want to say before like we get to eavesdropping is Tara. I guess it's part of it. I think it's a brilliant move. I know it's unpopular, but because first of all, I don't think Super Vitals should be in Survivor, but I love Angelica, so respect, whatever they do because they're like great people. But the fact that you were able to protect that asset in the game, and also we see numerous wonderful players get out because they risked it. Why risk it? First of all, you get rid of an idol, which makes you less of a threat. Second of all, why would you want to risk going that early if there's even a hint of it? I don't think it's that big of a deal to be wrong, especially when you have a super idol and you're protecting that asset. So that was my take. I thought it was brilliant and a strategic point. So that made me respect you a lot when I found out. Then the next thing about Scott, so right away I friendship fell in love with Scott and Hannah. It was crazy, crazy. But I was not very good at hiding it clearly because Scott and Hannah both came up to me and they're like, everyone knows that we're together. So I did not want to take Scott for the eavesdropping thing. I went and got it when I was at the, what was it called? The cabin, what is it? The market. Yeah. Sorry. Um, and the reason I did that is because I didn't know how many idols were going to be in the game, how many people were going to buy them. And I knew if people knew about it, I felt like that was just going to put more of a target on my back. So I was like, let's just play the social game because the social game to me is much more powerful. You get rid of an advantage, but now who do you have for your numbers? So I was like, if I get food and I get eavesdropping, that's something you can use as a tribe to gather intel. So they figured since I bought it, I go. And then Scott was like, I want to go with you. And I was like, oh, but that's just going to make us look like more of a duo than people already think because we kept going on walks together and then we would try to spread out, but then we couldn't stop ourselves from talking to each other. But then I was like, you know what? No, at this point, everyone already knows. I wasn't going to say no to him and I got to hang out with him more.
So when you guys, I mean, obviously, I don't know. Here's what I remember. I remember when we sat down, Jason's asking us questions and like it was dead silent. Like we saw you guys there and like quickly, I think Jason realized he was like, okay, cool. You guys aren't going to talk. You see what's going on. All right, well, let's get to it. But what, if anything, did you guys pull from our tribal and what did you take back to the tribe and explain to them?
Bye,
Bye,
Paige.
Paige.
Paige,
Good
later.
to chat with you.
Yep.
Okay, so she's like the sweetest human ever, by the way. But so what we saw when we watched you guys, first thing is that Tiana was a very powerful presence on your tribe, and I figured that that meant that Tiana would be a target going forward into the merge, and I sensed that Tiana was really well liked, but that people would want her out. So we that was something we took away just from the way that everyone was talking. Then I think that we had figured out kind of that Tara and Santi were an item, and then that was proven when we got to the swap too. Just the closeness and the way that they talked to one another. And then we had already thought Katie and Paige were a duo, but I guess they like weren't quite yet. It just seemed like they got along. So we knew not every take was going to be correct. And we also just thought it didn't seem like people were very tight on the tribe yet. I know you guys, there were some tight friendships, but as a group, it seemed like there was a lot of tension. And maybe that was because of the idol.
I don't know. At that
I don't
point,
think there was tension. I think
I got that.
I think we saw you guys, and I think everybody had the same thought. Like Daniel, I don't know if you thought the same thing I did, was like, don't show any interaction with anybody else. Keep it quiet, like keep it simple. Don't say anything. Like we're
Yeah.
not going to give them anything they can run back with. We talked a little bit. Obviously, you saw that in the episode, but literally it was all open, generalized answers.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why you guys thought maybe there really wasn't any tension in our tribe. I didn't feel that way.
We
But
I didn't sense that from my early days. I thought you guys were getting along good. It seemed like you were going to pagong low key.
we I thought we were in good shape. Everybody for the most part was on the same page. What you guys will see is things quickly change in this next episode. You're going to see what, and I'll get into it before we get out of here on why I think things are going to start changing moving forward in the game. But you know, I feel like Mike was the correct vote, and you know, having you guys there did change up probably how we spoke and what we said and how we interacted. But Ayla, after you guys leave and you take that back to your tribe, is there anything that comes from that, or it's just kind of we put it in the back of our head and we bank that for later, or is that knowledge useful for like, all right, let's start talking about if we switch tribes, like how do we use that information to advance ourselves in the game? Or was it just too early to even think about that far?
Well, no, I'm always thinking like strategy is something that I really enjoy, but I also knew that A, you guys were not going to give us much, and B, me and Scott were both quite, we had drank some wine. And Steven as well, like he had gotten the bottle of wine. Our whole tribe was very much just goofing off. Um I was 100% tipsy. So, I knew that the information I got was not perfect, but my Tara Santi connection was the one thing I felt certain about, and I didn't share it with the tribe. I just kept it in my back pocket for if I needed it, just because they were whispering to one another. And then, I mean, it was pretty obvious just from challenges that T was a leader. So I figured she could be a target.
Gotcha. So you guys, I mean, pretty good insight as far as what you read. You didn't give everything away, but you didn't not tell them anything. You know, Jason says the hardest thing as a host is to navigate a tribal when no one wants to open up. The hope is that there's some, false comments that are made and some hints that are given to communicate, etc. But I think what Jason does a really good job with is saying the right questions to spark conversation. And
He
I think
does.
as a host, like when you're having a tribal and no one wants to talk, you got to reach down in your back pocket and know, all right, well, what
Go,
can I
Jason.
say to like probe something out of them that's going to spark conversation? Because I think there were a lot of times early in the game that probably that was the case. Nobody really knows what to say or how to start the conversation at tribal, or if they even want to throw themselves out there as being the first one to open up. But when Jason asks, a simple question that is kind of just general, like it makes it a lot more, manageable to open up and easier to communicate that. Then you start getting some fireworks from just a basic question that could go 1,000 different ways. But yeah, Jason does a really good job when that happens of saying the right things and helping spark conversation. And you'll see that, maybe next episode when we go to another tribal. But that was basically the episode in a nutshell. What I will say is we get back to camp, and this is my 2 cents on the episode and kind of a spark into next week's episode. That, by the way, it'll be coming out on Saturday this weekend. So if you don't have any plans or you get that lake effect snow in Canada, like it might be a good weekend just to sit on the couch and watch some Angelica. So what I do know is, Tara, I don't know if you realize the domino effect that you playing your idol had. So when you play that idol, T was unaware that she assumed that was the super idol that you had played. She didn't know that you had found an idol at camp. And that was
let
one of
me interrupt you for 1 second. If you saw in the tribal, when I played it, I didn't speak. I held it in front of me so nobody else could see it. And when Jason asked me who I was playing on, I went like this.
Yeah.
And there was a reason why I did that. And the reason why I did that was I wanted to see who was trying to get me to flush that thing, who was actually on my side, who was a part of my alliance. That's why I did that.
Did you find that information out?
Did I?
What's that?
No, Tara, did you find that information out from doing that?
I kind of did, and that's
I'm just curious.
I did, in a sense of I heard my name, and that's why I played the idol that I had found at camp. But I didn't want. I said to Santi when I was sitting next to him and Daniel was, I'm gonna play the idol. I didn't say I was gonna play the super idol. Dan knew because Dan was my number one. So Dan knew I had this other idol. There was only a couple people that knew I had the camp idol. But that was one of the one I was going to use.
That's one of the things that I will take with me that I didn't tell a single person, and I don't know who all you told, but that idol.
Loyalty, babes.
That's right. I didn't tell a single person. And so when we get back to Camp T, like we had to like tone her down a little bit because she was under the impression that you played the Super Idol and for no reason. And now, you know, in hindsight, it might have been good that if you did, it would have been flush. But if not, then, you know, whatever. But that kind of sparks, okay, this strategy of eating up all the big advantages and idols and rewards in the marketplace. Now what? And I think this next episode is where you're going to see things like the dividing lines start happening as far as what are we doing and what's a strategy. Because I'll say this from my vantage point, Tara, and I gave a lot of shillings. And I feel like I was just as much an owner of those things as the person who was actually holding it and went to the market to get them. And I don't know the breakdown of shillings and how all that worked and who gave the most, but I do know I was forking over everything I had every time.
Cool. You're
And-
wild for that. You're wild for
and
that.
to be
I still don't
complete-
agree with that strategy.
Hey,
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, and to be
Put it
completely
in your
honest,
pocket. It's not yours.
to be completely honest, just because I was holding it didn't mean that I was going to renege on our deal.
yeah. And
Well, I guess that we're gonna
Because we
see
had a
though,
deal.
because we're never gonna know as viewers until the
Right.
season feels.
Right.
But I don't
we'll see
know.
we'll see how everything shakes out as the season progresses. I mean, obviously we know what happens, but I don't want to throw any spoilers out there.
Maybe a bad memory. Maybe I don't know what happens.
Well,
Just like the viewers.
oh, Sam, I love you. You're perfect. You're perfect for
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you for
No,
coming on.
to talk about real quick about like even like when they said, you know, when Ayla said, you know, I knew Santi and Tara were like a couple. We were because when we first got there and we were at like the staging area, the pavilion, we called it our energy bubble.
Yeah.
And I think you were a part of our energy bubble too, Dan. It was like me, you, Paige, Santi, and Joelle.
Yeah.
And so, but Santi, he was I'm a smoker. Santi was a smoker. So, you know, what do? You go out and smoke. And we laugh because everybody's like, oh, they're like this. They're talking strategy all the time. Honestly, we've never talked about gameplay. Every time we went out to smoke a cigarette or something like that. But then it got to the point where Santi and I were like, get away from each other. Like, go, get away from me. Go over there. You go over there. Like, because people are starting to watch us. And that's the last thing you want in this game is to have eyes on, period.
Not me like introducing myself to Santi on the pavilion when like I fully knew it. I literally like it feels so phony doing that in games. I hate it. To be like, hi, I'm Sam. I don't know you. It's so weird, right?
Brian did it to
Sorry.
me.
Invasive thought.
Brian did it to me,
Oh,
and
shit.
Brian knew me. And I
I've
knew
never
Brian.
gotten to do that before. I've never known anyone, but I've only played 2 games. So
And
But
the
the
only reason
same
why
game, right?
I
Or-
knew
yeah,
Brian.
Angelica. Yeah.
I knew Brian
You'll
because
get out there,
the first
girl.
time I
You'll get out
played,
there. Well, you should.
the first time I played Survivor Angelica, Brian's twin brother, Kurt, was on my
LOL.
side.
Bye. So
And Brian,
that's so funny. Like blast from the
Brian was our
past.
camera guy.
Oh yeah, right. I
So
thought I
knew
recognized him from the
Brian.
first one.
And Kurt was the one that facilitated me getting voted first round.
Bye.
So
circle.
when I saw Brian, I thought it was Kurt at first. Then when he says, he goes, hi, I'm Brian. And he looked at me and winked. And I said, hi, I'm Tara. Nice to meet you. And I knew he was gunning for me. I knew he was gunning for me because I was gunning for his brother when I played in 2020.
All right. Well, I'll have one more comment before we close this thing down. It's from Jason. Jason just wanted to give clarification to the Super Idol and just the things in the market. You know, he says, you know, it really helped light the fuse for the game to open up, which, you know, from a production point, you know, it's something
It
they
certainly
focused
did.
on. And it did. They wanted to
cost
create a
Oh,
fun
we're
concept.
still talking about it.
Yeah, a fun concept. It got us talking. It was It made us get involved, and it made us make moves that we may not have necessarily made in a original Survivor style game. Which, I mean, I can appreciate all those things, because when you're the oldest LRG around, like, you've got to constantly move the needle and shake things up, and this was just another way of doing that. So, whether we agree or disagree or like or dislike it, I think when you have a reason for doing it and it hits on all the reasons, I think that's a successful way of having a small change in the game. But
Any
with that,
publicity is good publicity. So let them talk shit, Jason. Let us talk shit.
yeah.
It's fine. At least we're talking about it. It was good. This is fine. We
No,
love the
I
chaos.
think it did exactly.
Well, you
what
liked it,
what was meant to do.
sure. Of course you did.
Well, no, I think it did it what it was meant to do, and it was to create some sort of chaos
And
within
they
the
did,
game.
even with our first vote. I mean, it was because
Yeah.
of the coin situation that Travis wanted people to give coins. Like, that is what started the first conflict on our tribe. So no matter what they, planned out specifically, they got their goal for sure, that it created tension. So
I would have
Mhm.
never given those coins over.
Hey,
Ever. I have
you
no
know,
regrets.
I can't. I had a great time. I enjoyed myself. It was a fun game. I met some amazing people, and I may not do that my second LRG Survivor game that I ever played, but in the first one I did, and I wanted to be unapologetically me, because I felt like that was the easiest game for me to play, and I didn't want to do anything different at that particular time.
what about when you helped me, Tasha, and Hannah in that merge cabin with those beds and with that
What?
rat?
Well,
Do you
What
remember
happened
that? Do you
we'll
in the
remember
get
that?
cabin?
we'll get to all that. That's a tease
Oh
for
my
later
God,
on.
Fudge. Oh
So,
my God, I'm so
hey,
sorry. Cut it out, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out.
it's
I'm
all
so
good.
Cut the
sorry.
cameras.
You shouldn't have let me be on this. Completely
No,
forgot we're not
no,
supposed to.
nobody knows.
I don't even know what
Nobody
day it
knows.
is, girl. You're fine.
No, I
Relax.
mean, it is what it is. Like, eventually, probably in the next episode, we're gonna get that little tease in reality of what's going on. But I will definitely go into full depth um of that situation, because I don't know.
I bet
It was
Jason's sitting there like the Arthur meme right now, with like the.
He's definitely
He's
like,
like,
never let Ayla come back. But like, I think he knows that I speak first and think later. So I'm sorry, Jason. You did choose to put me on the season though. So
hey, it is what it is. We'll get out of here though. Before we go, Ayla, any last words, or should
play
we just
Angelica. It's the best game ever. Best crew ever.
Tara, any last words?
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. It is such a fun game to do Angelica, and like even to piggyback on Ayla, best crew ever, best
Yep.
crew ever, best game ever.
Yep. Sam, what you got?
All I want is world peace, like for the children. And that's all I have to say. Like, I had a good time here today and I just want world peace.
There you go. All right. If you're looking for an LRG, go to Instagram, Live Reality Games Casting. They're posting things about applications for games all over the country. If you're looking to get into one, I highly recommend you just making the dive, jump into it, apply for one. Who knows what might happen? If it's your first, if it's your 30th, just go for it. Obviously, follow LRG on Facebook at Live Reality Games. Hit us up. Make sure that you're throwing comments. Santi, appreciate the comments. Scott, appreciate the comments. Jason, thank you for
Love you, Scotty.
Jason, thank you for hopping in there with your comments and just being a great host and giving us the platform and the opportunity to do this. And with that, I will say that those of you who have applied for Survivor Angelica, LRG All-Stars, they will be looking at those submissions and applications, and they're going to start putting together a cast soon. So get ready for that, and we'll see what happens. And it'll be fun, because that's going to roll in September.
I
You've
will not
got
be here.
a lot of others going on as well. So with that, we'll end it. We'll see everybody next week for episode 4 of Survivor Angelica Medieval Mayhem. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Daniel.
Please.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye.
so much for having us.